Welcome to Legal Marketing Happy Hour.
Hey everyone, welcome into an all-new episode of the Legal Marketing Happy Hour. I am your host, Mike Leon. Today I'm joined by Cristie Reed, a senior SEO strategist over at Above the Bar Marketing. Cristie has spent more than 25 years helping law firms understand what actually moves the needle in digital marketing and what it should look like. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of firms quietly hold on to this one idea, and that's the idea that one marketing channel, whether it be SEO, referrals, social media, will finally be the thing that changes everything. Cristie's going to break all of this down and explain why that thinking keeps firms stuck and what a sustainable, connected approach actually looks like. Cristie, it's good to see you as always. So a firm comes to you guys and they're hoping one channel will solve their growth problems. What does that usually tell you about how they've been approaching the marketing game up to that point?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Glad to be here and answer these types of important marketing questions. Most of the time, they've just been jumping from one channel to the next. It's SEO focused this year, ads the next, might be social. It's whatever they're reading in the newspaper, speak to a peer at an industry event, or even they're just receiving marketing solicitations and they're responding to them. When it's something that doesn't work fast enough, they replace it instead of fixing the core issue. And a lot of times the core issue might be something with the firm's intake, or those channels just aren't active for their consumer and they're just kind of wasting marketing spend in those types of channels. So at ATB, we usually see this as a system issue, not really a channel issue. So one channel can't always compensate for unclear positioning, weak intake, or just even inconsistent messaging across all the different channels that the firm appears in.
Let me ask you about what makes it so easy for these firms to often overlook how their marketing pieces all work together. And sometimes they focus on whatever tactic feels most urgent in the moment. But what makes it so easy for them to overlook that?
Sure. So, most of these firms are smaller business owners. So when revenue dips or competitors show up louder in spaces the firms want to be in, marketing decisions become really emotional. They're tied to the longevity of their business and the success of their business. So a firm's often managing a lot with their business, payroll, balancing court, clients, marketing really isn't always top of mind, or even just how it works together. And they just want to focus on doing their practice. They don't necessarily want to know all of the ins and outs of marketing. So that's where they usually look to hire an agency like ours.
Where do you typically see things break down, especially when they're relying heavily on one channel, like we mentioned in the intro, but the channel's performing really well?
You see that a lot in when the channels change as far as organic visibility and algorithms and the competitive landscape shifts. Like you have great visibility, but in that, and we've done everything that we can optimize for that, but maybe paid ads are showing up at the top for that week or that particular search. And so having more of a holistic channel strategy helps with the ebb and flow of those types of changes. And then just differences with conversion gaps between like leads and signed cases. So I attribute that more often than not to a firm's intake process, and more recently, just pricing and reputation challenges out there.
Cristie, you mentioned attorneys that they got to manage, especially at these small firms. They've got to manage so many different moving pieces. So when you talk to these attorneys who feel like, "Hey, I'm doing marketing, right? Yeah, I may not be seeing movement, but I'm doing the marketing." How do you kind of help them understand the difference between a channel and having a true strategy?
Sure. So a channel is really, in essence, where the firm shows up. That could be organic, social, paid, advertising, for example. But the strategy is really why you're there, who you're targeting, and how each touch point moves somebody towards hiring you as a firm or an attorney. So at ATB, we strive to monitor the market proactively and ensure our clients are where it makes sense, depending on the firm's goals, and tailor those recommendations based off of that.
Cristie, I mentioned before you've got years of experience doing this. So when you've seen firms that have grown steadily over time, what are some central through lines or patterns that you've seen in how they connect their channels and create the consistency?
Yeah, so they usually have a really strong intake. And I know I've said intake a lot, but that's a crux of their business. If they're really good at answering the phone and just setting proper expectations of how the process goes and how they're explaining and giving potential clients out there the feeling that that's the firm that they want to hire and that they're very competent and capable in what they're purchasing as far as an attorney law firm service. Being that strong across that whole spectrum of setting the expectations and having that intake and leaves the clients with a really good positive experience. And with that, a really strong referral base is built for the attorneys and the practices that they manage just as a result, because that customer is going to be really happy. They're going to go out there and talk to their friends and say, hey, this firm took care of me, and if you ever need that, they're the firm to help you out. So that's what I would say as far as the really successful firms steadily over time are just they know their business, they service their customers, and it's just super consistent across time. It's not inconsistent. So they didn't have like one bad week of you're not answering calls and then getting a bad review out there or something along those lines.
Chris, let's talk about managing expectations, because that's a huge part of this as well. I think a lot of the times people misunderstand about the pace at which different channels are starting to show meaningful results. So how do you manage those attorney and client expectations?
Well, they expect the strategic outcomes on tactical timelines, which is already, something that's going to be difficult. Marketing is, really a system and not a switch. So all of the different channels have different timelines as far as what you would see as far as effectiveness. Like if you signed up for paid ads, you're going to show up almost immediately. You're paying to play. If you're working on an organic strategy, you've got to work to put together content and get out there on the different search engines that are out there. And social, you have to grow a following. So that's going to take time. If you need to pay the bills for your payroll next month, something like social or organic might not be like the perfect strategy at the time. You might want to, employ paid advertising to kind of get that cash flow going.
Cristie, can you share some examples of clients that you saw the shift in that one channel mindset to more of, like you said, a systems mindset, and it changed the firm's trajectory overall?
Like we've been talking about, it's not always the best to rely on one channel solely, especially just given the market and how things can change. Now, if you have a really good referral network and you've been in business for years and you're in a small town and you're the only attorney there, then maybe that works for you. But if you're in, a more competitive market and there's more attorneys and law firms that are coming into play, or there's other affiliates or just nationwide advertisers that are getting into your space or your corner, you really have to look at pivoting.
Cristie, as we put a bow on this episode, so somebody from a firm is listening to you right now. They realize their current mix is not working. So what's a starting point you would recommend for them for rebuilding their approach without scrapping all of the hard work that they've already done?
Yeah, you want to get back to basics, discuss business goals, what's currently working, and a plan to either fix what's not working or build on what actually is. And that would depend on, goals, business strategies, and kind of where you are in the maturation of your business. And that could vary a lot based off of already existing in a market, or if you're a new player into that type of space.
Cristie, thank you for the time and analysis on this. I appreciate it as always.
Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk with you today.
And thank you to everyone out there for listening to this installment of Legal Marketing Happy Hour. If your firm needs help with marketing content, do me a favor right now. Visit abovethebarmarketing.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, and comment, or share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Mike Leon. See everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.